Along the northeastern border of India lies the Kingdom of Nepal. Dividing Nepal from Tibet, the Himalayas, the highest mountains in the world. Under the Himalayas, in the high villages of Khumbu, live a people called Sherpas. The village of Tami, 12,500 feet up in the Himalayas. The first man to stand on the top of Everest, Sherpa Tenzing, came from this place. This film is about three brothers from Tami. They've chosen three very different lives, but the choices they made tell a good deal about what being a Sherpa means and how rapidly it's changing. Most of all, this film is about a tension that runs through Sherpa life, a kind of separateness which holds people apart. But that separateness also lies behind the self-reliance which has taken Sherpas to the top of the highest mountains on Earth. This is how the outside world usually sees Sherpas, carrying big loads up big mountains. On Annapurna and Kanchenjunga, on Makalu, and most memorably on Everest, the world's climbers have relied on Sherpas. These people are on their way up to Tami village, carrying provisions and equipment for the unit making this film. In the group are three brothers from Tami. Two of them, scattered by the lives they chose, haven't seen the village for years. Mingma is the leader of the group. His job is as a Sirdar, the head Sherpa on expeditions.
Ngarelam zone na mangarangom yang ngare tingna tiki sharadwa taman de kem japsin lemono de kem de lemono kem jangma shisin gom nubla ruhoni gangbo rugi kuni dibe tamami gangbo chopsin shin dibe.
Mingma's two brothers have chosen more traditional Sherpa lives. Dorji is a Buddhist monk.
Tadwur nol ala gam mishi. Tadwur kondo daga bu to pangoi. Kondo arche to jus yure pang wa yuluma. Tirmogi to de la temo. Kondo pang nyanma pang chetang bang thamo kang bu thamo rima chani pang ro gi. Ti ko na ma college na ma thamo kang bu ti bu thate thamo no sang gi. Thamo sang ge thamo.
The third brother is Powa Tenzing. He's a farmer, and for him, Tami is still home.
Kumpula mi ala Mozambique, tede zumbu tikwe zumzang ala mangu Mozambique. Tamat yamula nama sergi nama tamade lawe. Dia orang kang pada tapi singgala tapi kang bawa tuji, tapi kang balaga sirup. Đó biết thêm đầu tư gì.
There are about 20,000 Sherpas in Nepal. The Sherpas migrated here from Tibet about 450 years ago, and contacts with Tibet in trade and religion have always been important. Today, for the men and women in villages like Tami, farming and yak herding must provide a basic living. Each family can produce what it needs to survive, so there's no need for cooperation in harvesting the only crop, potatoes. You can see the patterns of Sherpa life in the patterns of the village itself. Each family's house stands separated from the next. The boundaries of each family's fields are precisely defined. All property is privately owned, and there are no leaders here with power over other people's lives. Every family keeps to itself and sorts out its own survival. But the price they pay for their separateness is often a lack of cooperation and community. November is the dead time of the year in the fields. Like everyone else in Tami now, Poa Tensing's daily worry is fuel, to cook and to keep warm. Fuel means precious dry wood, and that means more load carrying. The nearest suitable trees are more than 2 hard hours away, 14,000 feet up on the side of a mountain. For Poa Tensing and his wife Aikami, it means a start not long after sunrise.
Lojigla Tasambala Gumbu Shing TV Salu Rui Amadui Rongla Dui Pela Dui Pelapini Dui Tama Ti Aru Dawa Tangbu Shersima Miyuk Kambakuni Dui Kambakoni was Mantibula Tibula Laga Me Kajavi Tito the Dui Tama Trijula Dawa New Shatma Shingila Chui Re Deu Tang Chachuru Re Deu Dawa Newa Sumbasak Shingila Chui.
From spring until the summer rains, Sherpa farmers like Poa Tensing work in their fields and hope for a bit of trading.
Kangdawa Dimba Jeba Guasak Shingila Rico Tangap Lakachi Tama Tewatama Shing TV Tama Shing Tu Ringa Job the Yapi Mapi Pelapi Yambulapi Drain Tip Miss Logical to the Lava to the Missimichi.
A 1,000 feet downhill and then 3,000 feet up again, clinging to a near vertical mountainside, the trees Poa Tensing and Aikami are looking for, trees dry enough to burn easily. Timber grows only very slowly at this height, and after centuries of wood gathering, there's a desperate shortage of trees in Khumbu. Now, controls on woodcutting are strict, and Sherpas like Poa Tensing have to work hard if they're to keep warm. Now the long haul back to Tami. This time, each with more than 100 weight of wood on their backs. For poor Tensing and his wife, it's a routine day. They expect to make this trip 5 times a week, every week, at this time of year. Six and a half hours after leaving Tami, Poa Tensing and I Kami are home.
Experience the past like never before with History Hit's award-winning original documentaries and ad-free podcasts with our expert historians like Dan Snow, Susanna Lipscomb, Lucy Worsley, Mary Beard, Tristan Hughes and myself, Matt Lewis. Sign up for an exclusive discount using the link in the description and embark on your historical journey from the wonders of ancient Egypt and the life of Anne Boleyn to the rise of Napoleon Bonaparte and the discovery of Shackleton's Endurance. Get history wherever, whenever, exclusively on History Hit.
The next day, I Kami went back for more wood. The reincarnate Lama of Tami Monastery. When he was 2, he was discovered to be the reincarnation of the previous Lama. Since then, he has been the Rinpoche, the Precious One. On a mountainside above Tami village is the Lama's monastery. Poa Tensing's brother Dorji is on his way to visit the Lama. For the last 2 years, Dorji's been living and studying at a new monastery in Kathmandu. Buddhism teaches that it's the job of every individual to seek his separate salvation. No one can save another. Whether you're a monk like Dorji, or a farmer like Poa Tensing, or a Sirdar like Mingma, daily life is partly a preparation for reincarnation. By gaining merit and avoiding sin, you ensure for yourself a good life next time. It's no accident that the Tami monastery stands apart on the hillside. Monks like Dorji have withdrawn from village life to pursue their own salvation, separated from worldly concerns. For most people, the point of making merit is to get a good rebirth. But for monks, the aim is to escape the cycle of death and rebirth altogether. Only 2 or 3 Sherpas in every 100 become monks. Boys can be sent to begin a religious life as young as 6. For most, It's expected to be a lifelong commitment. For Sherpa parents, to have a son who's a monk is a powerful source of merit. A healing ritual in the Tami monastery. The ritual has been commissioned by Dorji's father, Ausumi. Ausumi hopes it will help to cure his persistent nosebleeds. For a whole day, these monks will read the sacred books exclusively for Ausumi. In return, he will pay them and feed them. The reading will create merit which should promote Ausumi's cure. It's taken him a year to save up for this. The monks would need a month to read the 108 holy books right through, but Ausumi can only afford a single day. So the monks read a few pages of each book and then pass on to the next. Since the books are truth, it's only necessary to give them an airing. And for everyone, it's a business-like occasion. Ausumi doesn't even need to be here for most of the time. He gains merit from supporting the monks while he's busy in the monastery kitchen preparing their food. Dorji said his father's illness was the result of sin in a previous life, but it might be wiped out by this ritual. In avoiding sin themselves and pursuing a good rebirth, Sherpa monks must renounce marriage and so avoid the trap of worldly concerns and obligations. For a monk to break the vow of celibacy is to destroy his chance of salvation. There'll be a wedding in this house the day after tomorrow. Today, as well as preparing huge quantities of chang, the Sherpa beer, there are some vital practical details to be sorted out. Although there is a monk here to read sacred text, his presence is a formality, and he'll play no part in the wedding. For above all, Sherpa weddings are about property and possessions. The bride is still living here in her parents' house, but she's had an open relationship with the groom for the past 4 years, and they've already had one child. Sherpa marriage is a lengthy business and can take years to complete. The main reason for the delay is that marriage means inheritance. As well as losing a working member of the family, the bride's parents must provide an extensive dowry. Her husband will inherit a house, fields, and animals. It all means that there's no room for sentiment in recording the details.
Chuta dawa jubi che sum nine kenzen chiktu punye tenza ne shamla chilok chuna pumi nor sur kurdyutang pumeji norji katang thangbola ser tola chila gor jatang gor nija jaju thamba gor nija jaju thamba sang chila gor chuju thamba bure retu chigla gatang shipchu
nhưng thì tấp chọc về trên thì tấp chọc đi tè thôi.
For the bride's mother, the packing of her daughter's dowry is just the beginning. The next few days will mean the exhausting and expensive entertainment of more than 100 guests. For the bride herself, the wedding means lots more work. For the village of Tami, a wedding is one of the very few occasions when the separateness of families and individuals is bridged, and just for a few days, there's a sense of community. After the days of preparation, it's the morning of the wedding. The groom's procession comes over the ridge from his village. Shielded by an umbrella to ward off evil spirits, a member of the groom's party blesses the beer, offering some to the gods. Chang has a crucial part in every Sherpa social occasion. It creates an atmosphere where people feel able to get together. In the middle of all the celebrating, the groom stands quiet and almost unnoticed. His bride is still working in the house. They're not the center of attention. The wedding is really about inheritance and about bringing together Sherpa families who spend most of their lives absorbed in their own affairs. In the chaotic gloom of the house, the actual ceremony is over in a moment. Now the village can get on with the really enjoyable part of the celebrations, an all-night round of dance parties with yet more chang. The next day, the newly married couple are ready to leave for the groom's village. The groom's relatives celebrate gaining a new member of their family. Some of the bride's relatives try to capture one of the groom's party to pay a symbolic ransom for the departing bride. But the real meaning of this event is in those loads on the girls' backs. The procession celebrates the creation of another separate family unit, heading off with their own property to their own house. Eight years ago, this was a quiet Sherpa village called Lukla. Today, thousands of tourists from all over the world fly into Lukla every year to begin their trekking holidays in the Everest area. For Sherpas who remain in Khumbu, the fact of tourism means rapid change. For Mingma, looking after his father's animals 12 years ago, it meant a new life.
taman nak do shi semana papa mi lapgino dungino tamasem la garang ma chung tama mi do sab gi la gala fini manjele mo khongino zutale mo khongino gari dogino redo dogino tama chase ra la sung ngang du ne kondu ni singale ngang du ne sab gi la filo shi singale mi do sab la fila sin ma chase sem thanga la sung mi do sab gi manjele mo khon gari ta redo ta ne tama dosin nga chase sem thanga la sung ngang du ne drop sing gale no sung ma jura le sen pabu ala lap nak to shi mo khoi du nak shi chini sisi khang sen sirul ma sem te dukbala song sem dukbala so na ma yambula tuk thoni
Tondama so dai phari mo kuye tondama no ya re lai ma ko lai phani ko lao hoi jani be lai ma ye ra bha to khwang ne sa ye ta ye re ra no ya re lai ma ko lai phani ko lao hoi jani be lai ma.
Kathmandu, the capital of Nepal. Tami and Khumbu are more than 100 miles away, but for thousands of Sherpas like Mingma, Kathmandu has become home. This is where the tourists arrive and where the jobs are to be found. Mingma moved down from Tami to live in Kathmandu with his family 10 years ago. Now, though he's away for much of the year on treks and climbing expeditions, his home is here, on the ground floor of a house in the Sherpa district of the city. Mingma's wife, Pasang Lamu, serves lunch for 20. For some years now, she's made this front room available to Sherpas from Tami who are in Kathmandu looking for work. Pasang Lamu makes a bit of money selling beer to her guests. Most of the Tami Sherpas staying here today are just back from a successful ascent of Manaslu. It's Saturday, so Mingma's 5 children are at home from school. The school's just one reason why Mingma and his wife prefer to live in Kathmandu. Their son Angsultim is another. Angsultim came to Kathmandu with his parents when he was a baby. Within months, he caught polio. It left him unable to walk without crutches, an impossible handicap on the steep tracks of Tami.
Kumbula kalewe kurugogi shingila gara chigoji yembula laga chibangana yembula la angal ni tu la khobo wesno la khobo wesno ngi ang sundim la chapje na sandban lu sumyen chai mata
4 years ago, Pasang Lamu had another family tragedy. Her father was killed on a mountaineering expedition.
Papa kare juksum zagaroi kare juksum jene lasla amulabzala Germany mala talagem nishisu thangba gomala expedition la ala me kumbula shingila ga kiwi peladwi chongala jewi hasmbele expedition la ala wa sherba kambu expedition la ki expedition la kaleno sharola la ga yamba tanga ngob la mindu chong mindu expedition la ma bisi tanga miangno 아침에 나가라가서 anga gangbu 아침에 알아가치 텐다랑 왜 tendarangna papa ala swi tendarangwe gawe achungma kharla ganse kurim ala kwe achungme laga tikbeji jiwalanga na thama lemono galni sisi la gole fela pablangina ngala anga ala we anga sogogina kalewe.
The mountains of Khumbu present their own problems for Mingma. It isn't just a matter of avalanches and crevasses. Mingma is an experienced high-altitude climber who's already led a number of successful international expeditions. But in some ways, the personal problems of trying to cope with the sensitivities of his fellow Sherpas are even more daunting for a Sirdar like Mingma. On Everest, those problems would be especially severe.
Everest is drawing Gano, Conrad of the Everest Lapati and Gano, but Sherry Pati Sharada Maradmi, Moramo Shumi, Chasamana Caleno, Chilachigi, Mosity Caleno. Gangla Laga, Chota Tirilla Laga, Chota Miango, Jangala Nangsino, Rangala Bin, Rangala Madin, yes, in same Nagachino. Tamanda or a Mila Tamujo man, Mosity man can Caleno.
For traditional Sherpa farmers, like Mingma's brother Poa Tensing, life inside the family household seems unchanged. But there are profound changes here in Tami as well. This used to be the time of year when many Sherpas like Poa Tensing would travel to Tibet to trade. Since the Chinese occupation of Tibet, things have been very different. Now, trading is strictly controlled, and young men have been forced to take up tourist work to make a living. The dwindling trade with Tibet has become an old man's affair. These yaks belong to Poa Tensing's father, Ao Sumi. Tomorrow, they'll be carrying his goods to Tibet for trading. This evening, the yaks have been rounded up by a fourth brother, Hlakpa. Like a considerable number of Sherpas who suffer from a serious iodine shortage in the Khumbu water, Hlakpa was born retarded. He has remained at home with his parents all his life, helping his father with the yaks. The journey to Tibet up over the 19,000-foot Nang Pala Pass will take 6 days. Asumi is 65 years old and his family have gathered to see him off. His wife is here with a grandchild.
So we let me shall I say that. Chicken summission the temperature chamber.
La bombe te da gente se lento.
I wish it was a not to get angry. Maybe some mission talk about water.
Giao trực về hiện đại đâm lại chắc cái gì
Nhá. Nhá.
một cái
As our Sumi follows his yaks towards Tibet, he scatters rice for the gods as a protection for his journey. It's an image of Sherpa life that hasn't changed in hundreds of years. But in our Sumi's own village, a source of real change is impossible to ignore. The Tami School was one of half a dozen schools for Sherpa children, founded by Sir Edmund Hillary in the early 60s. The song is the Nepalese national anthem, and the children are singing it in the Nepali language. In the last few years, the Hillary schools have been taken over by the Nepalese government, and Sherpas complain that standards have fallen. But schools like this have produced some of the most able students in the whole country. And inevitably, educated Sherpas have left the villages of Khumbu in search of better opportunities. None of the three brothers was young enough to attend this school, but Mingma has learned the value of education the hard way, teaching himself to read and write and to speak foreign languages, and he's determined that all his children should get an education. But Mingma is aware that a traditional Sherpa option does still exist for his son, religion. For the monks in Tami Monastery, the patterns of life seem largely unchanged. But they have lost their previous monopoly on Sherpa education. Nevertheless, partly due to its comparative isolation from the tourist tracks, Tami Monastery remains one of the most thriving in Khumbu. Today, the monks are beginning a major ritual, Dorsem, 5 days of text reading, music and ceremony for the spiritual purity of the monks. The climax of the Dorsum ritual will be a rare coming together of monastery and village. After 5 days of ritual in the monastery, the final afternoon of Dorsum has arrived. For the villagers, this is marvellous spectacle. But they're simply onlookers as the monks complete their own purification. First, the music attracts the attention of the gods. Then, by burning the symbols of Sherpa life, food and cloth and wood, the monks seek the protection of the gods. In the process, the monks become near gods themselves. Inside the monastery, the climax of Dorsum has arrived. This is the Sewong, which means life power. Now the monks move beyond their concern for their own salvation. After the days of purification, they're empowered to hand out long life to everyone who has come here. For Sherpas who are still living a traditional life like Pua Tensing, this is a familiar landmark in the year. For his brother Mingma, it may be years before he stands here again. A picnic in the botanical gardens, Kathmandu, for Mingma and his family. Mingma's children are already much further from Khumbu than their parents. Only 2 of them have ever seen Tami. None of the children speaks the Sherpa language.
Lumba tikpe laduma lapsha namba mamunga samanama kalekino mila.
Ni bizala sheri lapsha. Madru lewai. Sheri lapsha tolse tingla sharwa sheri mingra miambe. Sharwa sheri lapsha mesi Nepali tan sharwa la chadang mi chikbi. Sheri lapsha tolse aru tingla sharwa sheri miambe.
Shere mi metuga. Sheroside ma khan Sheroside khan ba kudi yu sab yi mi zaman girbinde no.
Shara ajung lebanon. Shara kuli yun sasna shara kun mi kiwi zna malawe kuru kunni kala yemsa wasna ming le mawe. Shara lapsha torsen shara ming donde